Okay, tonight starts Rosh Chodesh Shevat, and this is the month, obviously, that we have Tu B'Shvat, the new year for the trees. But I wanted to do a couple things. I wanted to cover the Torah portions just a summary of the Torah portions that we get in this month, and I also wanted to touch on some aspects of the month. So specifically, I have this book here, The Wisdom in the Hebrew Months. It's an Art Scroll publication by Tzvi Riesman, the months, the tribes, and the names of Hashem. So basically, most people, whenever they think of months and associations and things, they think of constellations and horoscope sort of stuff. But that's, in Judaism, what we have is we have an association of the month with a tribe. And this month, the tribe that's associated with it is Asher. And the name of Hashem. So basically, there's a permutation of the name of God that's associated with a month. And that permutation, I'll get to this and explain it, but that permutation is connected with a verse. So, like I said, I'll get to that. But it's not super complicated. I mean, if you want to get this book, there's going to be an affiliate link in the description where you can get it at Amazon. But this month is connected with the tribe of Asher. So based on the order of the encampments, Shevat corresponds to the tribe of Asher. And so what has been said about Asher is in Bereshit 49:20, Genesis 49:20. It says, from Asher his bread will have riches, and he will provide the kingly delicacies. So actually, I just read a story tonight. You'll see it probably in a short from this book, Creating Angels, where there was a queen that gave some beggars some bread, and she thought that she controlled the world, and she tried to manipulate things. And it's a short story. You should jump over to that video and check it out. But it's kind of connected to this idea of the blessing of Asher. So from Asher, his bread will have riches, and he will provide the kingly delicacies. And then in Devarim 33:24, it says that Asher will dip his feet in oil. It's again referring to riches and richness. And a permutation of the name Asher is Rosh, right? And this is Rosh Chodesh, but this is actually the month that Moshe restated the Torah in the book of Devarim. And we're also going to see, I'm going to cover the Torah portions that are in this month. And we're actually going to see that this month, in this specific week, actually right now, is the Torah portion where we get the mitzvah to sanctify the new moon. And but anyway, so jumping over here to the second section of the book where it talks about a permutation of Hashem's name. So the permutation of Hashem's name would be Hey, Yod, Vav, Hey. And it's connected with the verse in Vayikra, that's Leviticus 27:33. So I'll just read this. The name combination in the month of Shevat comes from the penultimate verse, so the second to the last verse of Sefer Vayikra, where it says, he shall not distinguish between good and bad, and he shall not substitute for it. And if he does substitute for it, then it and its substitute shall be holy and may not be redeemed. But anyway, like again, this is the month where Moshe, he restated the Torah. It wasn't necessarily a substitute, but we see how both the Torah and the repetition of the Torah became holy altogether in the 5 books of the Humash, right? The 5 books of the Torah. So just wanted to point a few things out there. So if you want to check this book out, you're local, you can come and see me, and I'll help you out with that. But so as far as the Torah portions that are covered this month, so we start in the Torah portion Bo, and then we go to Bishalach, Yitro, Mishpatim, and then the month ends in the middle of Teruma. So the question is, what is covered here? And I actually want to promote this as a rabbi in Israel, Rabbi Eliyahu Shir. He made a simple guide, the Parsha in just 2 minutes. It's a simple little book. It basically gives a summary of each aliyah for the Torah portion, and it's just something, if you're sitting down at the table and you need a quick review of, you want to have a simple little Devar Torah or something like that and rehash the Torah portion. It's great for that. So, Parshat Bo. This is Moshe approaches Paro and inquires regarding his obstinacy in not freeing Bnei Yisrael even after the last 7 plagues. Moshe warns Paro about the next plague, locust, and if Paro continues to be obstinate, Paro is prepared to let Bnei Yisrael go, but only the men. Moshe obeys Hashem's command to stretch out his hand over Egypt and stretches out his staff over Egypt, bringing the eighth plague of locusts. Paro regrets his decision, asks Moshe to pray to Hashem to remove the plague. Moshe does so, and the plague is removed. Paro remains obstinate in not freeing Bnei Yisrael. Moshe brings the 9th plague, the plague of darkness upon Egypt. The Egyptians cannot see, but Bnei Yisrael still have light. Paro is prepared to let Bnei Yisrael go, provided their cattle and flock remain. Moshe does not accept the deal. Hashem promises Moshe that he will bring one last plague upon Egypt, after which they will send them out. Bnei Israel are to request gold and silver from the Egyptians before departing. Moshe warns Egypt concerning the final plague. At about midnight, all their firstborn will die, including their firstborn animals. Afterwards, the Egyptians will let Bnei Yisrael go by forcing them out. Hashem tells Moshe that Paro will not listen to him. Hashem teaches Moshe the mitzvah of sanctifying the new moon. Hashem tells Moshe to speak to Bnei Israel and command them to prepare the paschal sacrifice on the 10th of the month, to be prepared for slaughtering on the 14th of the month. Thereafter, they are to take the blood of the animal and spread it on the doorposts and lintels of their house. They are to eat the animal and matzot and bitter herbs together with it. There are certain rules attached to how the lamb is to be prepared. Hashem is to carry out the plague himself, and upon seeing the blood on the doorpost, he will skip over those houses, not harming Bnei Yisrael who reside therein. The day is to be remembered always by keeping 7 days of eating matzot. No leaven may be found in the houses during that period. Anyone eating leaven is to be spiritually cut off from the Jewish people. Next, Moshe commands the elders to prepare the Pesach offering. He then explains how to prepare the blood for sprinkling by dipping a bundle of hyssop into and then spreading it across the doorpost. He informs the elders as to the events that will occur during that evening. When Bnei Israel enter the land that Hashem is bringing them to, they are to observe this service and to explain to their children what it's all about. At midnight, Hashem brings the final plague. Every firstborn is killed, and there is tremendous cry in Egypt. Hashem commands Moshe and Aaron to take Bnei Israel out. Bnei Israel leave in a hurry, unable to wait for their dough to rise. They take with them gold and silver. Additional laws of the Pesach offering are also discussed. Hashem commands Moshe to sanctify every firstborn male and animal to him. Hashem commands Moshe about the mitzvah to remember their going out of Egypt. Hashem explains to Moshe how to redeem the animals as well as the firstborn sons. Hashem commands Moshe with the mitzvah of tefillin, that it should serve as a remembrance of the redemption from Mitzrayim, from Egypt. The tefillin are to be placed on the arm and upon the head. The next Torah portion we have is Beshalach. So after leaving Egypt, Hashem leads Bnei Israel toward the Sea of Reeds, even though the route through the Philistines' territory is nearer. Moshe takes the bones of Yosef with him. Hashem leads them by a pillar of fire at night and by a cloud during the day. Hashem commands Moshe to change directions in order to trick Paro into thinking that they are lost. Paro reconsiders his decision in freeing Bnei Israel and pursues after them. Egypt pursues and overtakes Bnei Israel. Frightened, Bnei Israel complain to Moshe for taking them out of Egypt. Moshe assures Bnei Israel that Hashem will still battle for them and save them. Hashem reprimands Moshe for praying to him and commands him to get on with the journey. Hashem commands Moshe to lift up his staff over the sea, and the sea will split, allowing Bnei Israel to walk through on dry land. Hashem's angel moves in front of Bnei Israel, and the clouds move behind them. Moshe obeys Hashem, the sea splits, Bnei Israel walk through on the dry land. The Egyptians pursue Bnei Israel, but Hashem removes the wheels of their chariots, making their pursuit difficult. Hashem commands Moshe to stretch out his hand over the sea, causing it to collapse upon the Egyptians. Moshe obeys, and the Egyptians drowned in the sea. Due to their happiness, Bnei Israel burst out in song, singing Az Yashir, so the song of the sea. That's how it starts. Their song details the events that occurred and the happiness in viewing the salvation of Hashem. Miriam leads the women in song. Moshe continues leading Bnei Israel. After 3 days, they find that they no longer have any water. The waters of Marah are bitter and cannot be drunk. Bnei Israel complained to Moshe, this time concerning the water. Moshe cries out to Hashem. Hashem shows Moshe a tree, which he throws into the water. The tree makes the water become sweet. Bnei Israel arrive at Elim, where there are 12 springs of water and 70 date palms. And just remember, this is the month where we have Tu B'Shvat, the New Year for the trees. So keep that in mind whenever you read this Torah portion, whenever the trees make things sweet. So Bnei Israel continue their journey. They complain to Moshe and Aaron, recalling the bread and the meat that they ate when they were in Egypt. Now in the desert they lack these foods. Hashem tells Moshe that he will cause food to rain down from heaven each and every day except the seventh day. 2 lots of manna will fall down on the 6th day for the 7th. Hashem tells Moshe that he has heard the complaints of Bnei Israel and that he will provide meat for them, and in the afternoon bread in the afternoon and bread in the morning. In the evening, quail began flying in abundance over the camp of Bnei Israel. In the morning, the man is found covered with a layer of dew on top and the bottom of it. Bnei Israel gather it, finding that whether they take more or less, they always have just enough as they need to be satisfied. The manna that has been gathered in excess to be kept for the next day rots and becomes filled with worms. On the 6th day they gather double. Moshe tells Aaron to keep an omer of manna in a jar, so that future generations will know of the miracles that occurred at that time. Bnei Israel eat the manna for 40 years. So Bnei Israel encamp in Rephidim, where there is no water. Bnei Israel complain. Moshe is angry with the complaints. Moshe cries out to Hashem. Hashem commands Moshe to strike a certain rock. Moshe strikes the rock and water flows from it. Amalek battles Bnei Israel in Rephidim. Moshe commands Aaron to prepare men to wage war against Amalek. During the fight, when Moshe raises his hands, Bnei Israel are victorious, and when he lowers them, Amalek becomes stronger. Hashem commands Moshe to write this all down, so that it should be a remembrance always that God will erase the memory of Amalek. And if you want to know what empowers Amalek, read Sanhedrin 99b. The next Torah portion is Yitro. So, if you go to Sanhedrin 99b, just remember Yitro is a convert. So, Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, hears all these things that Hashem did for Bnei Israel and taking them out of Egypt. Yitro approaches Moshe together with Moshe's wife and sons. Moshe tells Yitro all about the things that Hashem had done for him at Bnei Israel. Yitro is excited with the good that Hashem has done for Israel and praises them. So on the next day, Moshe sits and judges Bnei Israel from morning to evening. Yitro sees Moshe's approach and disapproves of his judging alone. Moshe informs Yitro that he must do this, but Bnei Israel need his assistance. Yitro tells Moshe that he will become worn out if he continues in this way and suggests that Moshe set up men under him to judge according to the level of their learning. There should be leaders of thousands, hundreds, 50s, and 10s. Only big cases should be brought to Moshe. Moshe listens carefully to Yitro's words and appoints the various judges who then judge Bnei Israel at all times. The difficult cases are brought to Moshe, and the easier cases are brought to the judges. Moshe sends Yitro to his land. Bnei Israel arrive in the wilderness of Sinai in the 3rd month after their leaving Egypt. Moshe ascends the mountain. Hashem commands Moshe to tell Bnei Israel about the importance of observing the mitzvot. Moshe is to tell Bnei Israel about their special status as a treasured people, and they should be a holy nation. Moshe assembles the elders of Bnei Israel to inform them of all that Hashem has commanded them. Bnei Israel reply, "We will do all that Hashem has commanded." Moshe takes this message back to Hashem. Hashem tells Moshe to tell Bnei Israel to prepare themselves to receive the Torah. Moshe descends and sanctifies the people. Bnei Israel wash their clothing. On the 3rd day there was lightning and thunder, and a loud shofar blast is heard. Moshe brings Bnei Israel towards God, standing under the mountain. There is smoke all around the mountain because Hashem has descended upon it in fire. Hashem descends into the mountain and calls Moshe to ascend it. Moshe ascends. Hashem tells Moshe to tell Bnei Israel not to break through to ascend the mountain. Moshe assures Hashem that they won't. Hashem warns him again, and that he should descend, and then ascend again with Aaron. Moshe descends and recites the Ten Commandments. Descends and recites the Ten Commandments with the exception of the first two, which were said by Hashem himself. So all of Bnei Israel... So this is the Torah portion. We have the Ten Commandments. Bnei Israel see the thunder and the flames and hear the shofar and see the smoking mountain. And Bnei Israel are afraid and ask Moshe to finish reciting the remaining commandments. Moshe assures Bnei Israel that all of this is necessary in order for Bnei Israel to be elevated and be in awe of Hashem, and thereby they will no longer sin. Hashem tells Moshe to tell Bnei Israel that they have now seen Hashem, and that they should not make any type of idol. They are to build an altar of earth where they are to slaughter and offer sacrifices on it. They are not to build an altar of stones using a sword. They are not to ascend the altar on steps in order not to expose their nakedness to the steps. And in the temple we actually had a ramp. And a ramp is different than steps, because the steps, it's quantified that you have to go a certain level to make the next step. With a ramp, any progress you make takes you upward. And I talked about this in another lecture too. So it's the idea that any effort you make gets you closer, gets you higher. It doesn't matter how little or how great that effort is. If you just move in one direction, you ascend. If you move in that direction towards Hashem, you know there's that. It could just be just a little bit, but you make an ascent. And then this next Torah portion is Mishpatim. Hashem tells Moshe the many laws which he is to relate to Bnei Israel, the law of the Eved Ivri, the Hebrew slave, the law of selling one's daughter as a bondswoman is given, and all the following people are to be put to death: one who strikes another and kills him, one who strikes a parent, one who kidnaps someone and sells him, and one who curses his parent. So various laws of striking another person are discussed: one who strikes his slave, men who fight and collide with a pregnant woman, one who strikes the eye of his slave and knocks out a tooth, the laws of an owner's ox that gores a man, woman or slave, the laws of an unguarded pit, the laws of an owner's ox that strikes another's ox, and the penalty payments are discussed, the laws concerning one who steals an ox, sheep, or goat, and the laws of self-defense. So the laws of damages caused by one's livestock are discussed. The laws of unguarded fires that cause damage, the laws of guarding goods and animals, the laws of borrowing, the laws concerning a man who seduces a virgin. A sorceress is to be put to death. One who lies with an animal is to be put to death. One must be sensitive to strangers, as we were also strangers in land, not our own. And this is considered like converts too. The ger, right? One must be sensitive to the widow and the orphan, and one must not charge interest on a loan to another Jew. And one is not permitted to curse a leader of the Jewish people, and one may not accept a false report. One may not follow the majority to do evil. One must return an ox or donkey of one's enemy should one find it lost. One must help to unload a donkey belonging to one's enemy if it is overturned. One must be careful in judging others, not to pervert justice. One may not accept a bribe. One may not oppress a stranger. One may work one's land for 6 years, but in the seventh one must leave it unattended. One may work for 6 days, but on the seventh it is a day of rest, not only for us, but also for one's ox, donkey, maidservant, son, sojourner. One may not mention the name of other gods. One must observe the 3 pilgrimage festivals each year: the festival of Matzot, the festival of Shavuot, and the festival of Sukkot, the ingathering. One may not cook a kid in its mother's milk. Hashem promises to send an angel to aid in the swift passage to and conquest of the land. Hashem warns us not to prostrate ourselves to their gods and not to worship them, but rather to tear them apart and serve Hashem. Hashem will bless our bread and water and will remove illness from among us. There's the bread again. Hashem promises that there will be no woman who loses her young or be infertile. Hashem promises to drive away the inhabitants of the land before Bnei Israel. Hashem tells Moshe to go to Aaron, Nadav, and Abihu and tell them to go up and prostrate themselves from a distance. Moshe reads the book of the covenant, and Bnei Yisrael respond, Na'aseh v'nishma. And that's an important concept. I'll get to that in a second. We will do and we will hear. We will do means we accept it without hearing it, and then we hear, right? Hashem tells Moshe to ascend the mountain to receive the stone tablets. Moshe ascends and remains on the mountain for a period of 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, so I mentioned before about Amalek. So Amalek shows up this month. And if you go and read Sanhedrin 99b, you find out what empowers Amalek. And here you see this concept of Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do, and then we will hear. It is interesting how today they do the opposite to converts. They make them hear everything, even though the convert wants it right away. It goes against the way that conversions have always been done, and the Rambam even says that the way a conversion is supposed to be is the same way that the Israelites in the desert came into the covenant with circumcision, which happened right like at Pesach. Everybody had to make sure that they were circumcised, right? So circumcision, immersion, which happened right before they were at Mount Sinai, and Korban. We don't have the Korban today, but it doesn't mean that you can't have converts. But we also read, it'll be in the Shulchan Aruch, and it's also in the Mishnah Torah, that, a convert just requires circumcision if they're a male, and immersion today, since we can't do the Korban, not the Pesach, but a sacrifice. And they make people go through years and years of processes for the conversion, when the conversion is supposed to be instantaneous, like according to Hillel and throughout the Talmud, Yevamot and such. It should be an instantaneous process where it's like, oh, you want to convert? Okay. They stand them in the water, teach them a few mitzvot, some of the light, some of the heavy. They basically convert them on the spot within like a matter of days, because depending on the circumcision and stuff like that, you need to heal before you go to the mikvah. But anyway, so today they do nishma v'na'aseh. You hear everything and then you do. And that's not the way it's supposed to be done. So read Sanhedrin 99b and you'll see what empowers Amalek. I probably won't make some friends by saying that, but that's the case, and it's all through this month. So you see how like the Gerim come up in here and all these laws for that. So the whole point is, and that's one thing that we're supposed to treat people, the ger is supposed to be treated very well, just like the orphan and the widow, taken care of. But anyway, continuing. So the last Torah portion in this month, it's just a section of it, but I'll cover the whole Torah portion because it's just one page. So Parshat Teruma says, Hashem asked Moshe to request that each Jew should donate a portion of their wealth for the purpose of the construction of the Mishkan. All donations would be completely voluntary. Notwithstanding this, those in charge of the work had to appeal to Moshe in order that contributions should be halted on account of the abundance of material received. Various contributions are made, ranging from gold and silver to wood. The measurements and description of the Aron Kodesh are detailed. It consisted of a box with beautiful frames surrounded on its top with 2 cherubim. The luchot were contained therein. The details concerning the beautiful covering of the Aron, as mentioned in Aliyah 1, are discussed. One of the purposes of the Aron is to be as a place where Hashem will allow himself to be heard. The shulchan, the table, is detailed with all its measurements. The design of the menorah is detailed and had a base with one main shaft upon it. It had 7 branches containing beautiful decorations. The lamps faced each other, all towards the middle lamp. The covers of the Mishkan are described in all their details. The walls surrounding the Mishkan are described with all their measurements. They consist of planks which were all joined to each other individually, which were easily assembled and disassembled. The Parochet is detailed. It separated the holy area of the Mishkan from the Holy of Holies in which the Aron was kept. The Mizbeach, so the altar, is described, including the description in all its vessels. The Chatzar surrounding the entire Mishkan is described. So that is like all the Torah portions that are in this month. So just keep those stories in mind, and just kind of like, kind of use that as your as the wide angle view of this month. So I think I covered it here. So check those sources. Good night.